Okay, I think I'm live. Hello, everyone. This is my first time going live on YouTube, at least. So I'm super excited to talk about the doll universe today. So yay. All right, cool. So I'm going to introduce myself first. I am Judith-Hope. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to be channeling some information from the Akashic Records today about the doll universe, which is the inverse or alternate universe to our universe. But who am I? So I am a galactic Akashic channel, which that means I work specifically with the Akashic Records to channel galactic historical information from the records. Okay, so this information is what happened in history on other planets and other star systems. So it's not going to be history you would see in textbooks in school, hopefully one day, not yet. No, this is more the type of information that you would see in sci-fi movies, but this is channeled as to what has actually happened, right? So remember with like sci-fi or fantasy, those things, it's kind of like a reimagined version of what actually happened, right? So it's similar and a lot of it is pretty realistic, but it's not exactly the same. I also want to talk about the Akashic Records. Some of you may know what the Akashic Records are. Some of you may not know what the Akashic Records are, but they are basically a multi-dimensional library of all the history in this universe and every other universe. We typically access that information at the soul level. So a lot of my clients will come to me for readings and they want to know what happened to them in a past life. And so the Akashic Records records everything that has happened to our soul in every single lifetime we've had, right? So here on planet Earth, a lot of us have had, most of us have had, this is not our first time on planet Earth. For me, number 8, I believe. But, some of them here like 20 lives, 200 lives, 500 lives, 2,000 lives, right? So it records every single action that we take, every thought, feeling, emotion that we have. That information is all in the Akashic Records, so we can access it. And we most often use it, right, for our past lives and to understand what we did in past lives or what happened to us, right? And we often do that to heal those past lives, right? Because some of us have a lot of trauma from our past lives that we're kind of having to relive or change the way we do things in this lifetime versus the way we did something in a past lifetime, right? So there's a lot of value in understanding your past lives. It explains a lot. It's like, why am I so afraid of, spiders? Why am I, so afraid of drowning? Why am I afraid of getting a car accident? It's because maybe you were in a bad car accident in a past life. Maybe you perished. Maybe that was the end for you in a car accident. Maybe you were bitten by a spider and you died of a spider bite, right? It can also explain, good things too, right? Because those are all kind of like more negative examples. So for example, like in my past lives, like I've only been here on like 8 to Earth for 8 Earth lives, right? So that's why I'm an explorer. I like to travel. I like to adventure. I like to try new things, right? I like to see new things. I'm not a homebody. I've lived in multiple cities as an adult, right? I've only stayed, I think the city I stayed the longest in was like 6.5 years, right? But it was a big city, Chicago. So I was in Chicago for so many years, like exploring, seeing different things. And so, people who have been on Earth for like 200 lives, they're like, I've incarnated on every continent. I've been in almost every culture. Like, I don't need to explore. So they may be someone who kind of, sits at home more, right? So there's so many cool things we can use the Akashic Records for, but they also house galactic history, which is what we're going to be focused on today. All right. So what we're going to be looking in today specifically is the DAL Star People, right? So first we want to talk about what are star people? What do I mean, right? So these are basically groups of ETs from other planets who are from a specific star system. So like, for example, like you might see the Pleiadian star people are from the Pleiades star system, or the Sirian star people are from the Sirius star system. So we typically, name the star system based off of, what the stars are that the planets are rotating around. So it's interesting because, I think a lot of people don't think that ETs are all human, and some of them are, some of them aren't, right? But it's interesting because the humanoid like template that we are is also used on other planets too, right? So there are some ETs that are human. There's some ETs who are not human, right? So it's a mix. It's not one or the other. It's both. We typically don't see this in movies too often. Now we do, like Star Wars has like a lot of human characters, right? Like the main characters, Luke, Leia, Han Solo, right? Those are all, humans. And then like Star Trek, we see a lot of like humans, right? So that's actually pretty realistic, is that we see a lot of, human ETs, right? And to us, we're aliens to them, right? But then we also see other types of ETs too. So we see things like cat humanoid. We see things like bird humanoids, right? So I'm talking about ETs with a human body and like a cat head or a bird head. It sounds nuts. It sounds crazy. I know. I also think it's kind of crazy. I think if I actually saw one of these things, I would freak out and scream and run for the hills, right? But this is what we see in the Akashic Records. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we get used to it, the more likely it is that ETs are actually going to come down and show themselves and reveal themselves, or come up as well and reveal themselves as well, right? So it's kind of wrapping our head around this stuff that sounds a little bit crazy. Okay, so what else? All right. Okay, so the doll people are not from this universe, like I mentioned. Okay, so they're actually from the alternate universe to our current universe. So my understanding is that lots of things are opposite in their universe to ours, right? So what I was taught from my Akashic Records teacher is that their night sky is opposite to ours, right? So their night sky is going to be light with dark stars. Okay, so like our day sky is like light, but we don't have like dark stars in it, right? So it's like the inverse, the opposite the doll people have. All right, so they are not from this. They're not from the Milky Way galaxy, like the Sirians, the Pleiadians, the Orions. Like they're not from the Milky Way galaxy. They're not even from our universe, right? So they're from, like, to get here, they would have to come through some kind of like portal or wormhole or something like that, right? So what is interesting, and again, what I was taught by my Akashic Records teacher, is that our two universes existed because of each other's, and that our universes have a common origin. It's also interesting because if one of our universes ceases to exist, so our universe or the doll universe, the other would likely to cease to exist as well, right? So we kind of have a lot of skin in the game when it comes to the doll universe. We hope they're taking care of it and that nothing happens to it where it would cease to exist, because that could affect all of us, could just be gone one day too, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the doll people, what they typically looked like based off of what I have been shown kind of in my classes. I'm going to channel in here in a second and kind of see what images they give me. But they kind of look like what we would say like a Caucasian, in the US we say like a Caucasian white type of human being would look like light skin, like hair, like similar kind of, to me, is what they, would typically look like, except they're going to be a lot, like taller and things like that, right? As most ETs are. At least I'm assuming they would be. I'll tap into that in a second. They were once really great space explorers. So that's actually how they ended up here in our universe at all. They came over here accidentally. So they did not mean to come here, but they came here completely by accident, right? And I don't know exactly how the accident happened, but they were basically like, they were always on these galactic space exploration missions, like similar to like Sirians are here in the Milky Way galaxy. And they accidentally came over here. When they got here, they realized that our lives were very similar to theirs, but in opposite reality. So I'm curious to see when I channel in what exactly that means in opposite reality. The doll people are very technologically and spiritually advanced. And that's like pretty much any of our star people who come from other universes. Because if you think about it, like think about the current technology we have here on Earth, like we can't really get that far. Like we've gotten to the moon, but how much farther have we actually gotten with like people, right? Not that far, right? So if you think about like the technology that would be needed to get from one universe to another, like when we can't even really get, like we can't even get, to another like constellation, like star constellation here in the Milky Way galaxy, like that's extreme, right? And so it's like all of the ETs that have come into this universe from another universe are typically much more advanced than we are. So it's not just the doll people, but it's all of the other ET groups, like the blue avians, the alligator people, I'll call them, right? And so it's funny, speaking of the alligator people, because they're kind of our like, bad guys in this universe. And they actually, what my teacher told me this story, and what she saw in the Akashic Records is that when the doll people came over into this universe, they had like, they're very like practical looking spacecraft. So their spacecraft don't look that advanced. They just look simplistic, right? So the bad guys, the alligator guys, they were like They were like, okay, we're going to like, destroy them. Like their ship's not very advanced. Like let's get them. And so they went to like attack, to fire, whatever, it may have been. And they were just immediately obliterated by the DAL people, because despite having more like a practical or simplistic approach, the DAL people are actually very advanced with technology. So I love that. The DAL people are actually the ancestors of the Aldebaran Star People, who live on the planets who rotate around the reddish star Aldebaran. It's one of the eyes in the constellation of Taurus, which we're familiar with, which is one of our zodiac signs. So for all of you Taurus people out there, the eye of the Taurus constellation is Aldebaran. So I don't know if there's any connection between Aldebaran star seeds if they tend to like incarnate more as Tauruses, but that would definitely be something interesting to ask. So Aldebaran is a giant red star. So it's 44 times that larger than the sun, like the diameter of it, 44 times that the diameter of the sun. And it's really been, known a lot historically, quite throughout Earth's history. So it's been referred to as the Eastern Royal Star, the Buddha Star, the Star of Illumination, and God's Eye. So if you've heard any of those terms before, today we're going to be talking about the ancestors of the star people who live in that star system today, right? Because the DAL people were the ancestors of the current Aldebaran ETs. And also, if you're connected to the Archangel Michael, or like working with him, he is also connected to the Aldebaran Star. I personally love Archangel Michael. I work with him a lot. I think it's really interesting because a lot of the archangels are connected to galactic history. So if you work with him, you like him a lot, you could have a connection to Aldebaran. So I just wanted to note that. Because some of you listening, you may have a connection to the Aldebaran star system. You may be from the DAL universe originally, right? Or a part of you was from there originally. So I want to talk a little bit about the Aldebaran people, right? So they are the descendants of the DAL people that we're talking about today, but they're also the descendants of the Lyrans, who were refugees, and they came to the Aldebaran star system after their own planet had been destroyed in the Lyran Wars. And so I made another video. It's like everything you need to know about the galaxy's first humans, the Lyrans and the Vegans. And so if you haven't watched that yet, definitely head over to my channel, check that out. A lot of good historical information about the Lyrans and the Vegans, who were our galaxy's first humans. One second, I need a drink. And so the Aldebarans, they are the descendants of both the DAL people and the Lyrans when they like mix together, right? And so it's interesting, right? Because the DAL people, like I mentioned earlier, like they have a lot of advanced technology. They came over here. And so because of that, when they bred with like the Lyrans and they started kind of like this new society, because they couldn't get back to their own universe, they actually, all that advanced tech, they passed down to their ancestors. The Lyrans, they had space travel much more advanced than what we have, but like compared to the other star people, they didn't have that advance of technology. And that is a big part of the reason like why their planets were destroyed, because they didn't have the technology to defend themselves, right? So it's interesting because like probably a month ago now, I went into my own Akashic Records and I actually realized that I have a connection to the DAL star system, right? And I wasn't expecting that because I'm an Andromedan starseed. I kind of know a lot of my incarnation, history. I came here from Andromeda, started incarnating on Lyra. That's why I love Hello Kitty so much, because there were so many like cats and cat humanoids there. So I was kind of surprised. And I don't know the whole story of how like that star lineage fits into my like soul's history, but I think it's very interesting because it shows how big our soul is and how we have different origin points, and like different pieces of our soul are coming from so many different parts. And the reason I'm doing this is because like I'm very clairvoyant and visual. So like even when I'm not channeling psychically, like just visually, like when I'm working, like I'm just a visual person. So it's like I'm seeing like, okay, the DAL universe is over here, Andromeda is over here. So part of my soul's from over here, part of my soul's from over here. I came into the Milky Way galaxy, which is like here, started in Lyra and came down. And so that's why I'm using these hand motions. But what I was shown in the Akashic Records that kind of verified that I had history on the DAL star system is some of my dreams. And I constantly have these dreams where I am like I'm remembering like I'm at this place that's like similar to like where I grew up or like a town. And sometimes it's my real town where I grew up, and sometimes it's a totally different town, but it's like the town where I grew up. And I'm remembering a secret place. It's like, okay, there used to be something else here. Like there used to be like you would pass this park and then you'd go and there's like this beautiful like water fountain angelic area. Like it's amazing and I miss it. Or like there, you know, there used to be like a theme park here. Like there, it just used to be different. And it's like remembering these other things. And like when I went to my Akashic Records, they were like telling me like those are your DAL people like memories. And it's weird because in some of those memories, it's like you're going in between like realities or universes. And it basically looks like kind of like in a movie, if you have like a giant like shield up and there's like one reality here and then like one reality there, and you can kind of like bounce in between. Like that's what it felt like in my dreams. So if you guys have dreams like that where you're like, oh yeah, like this park in my hometown is gone, or this beautiful scenic place, you know, in my hometown or where I used to live is gone. It's not there anymore, but now I remember it. That could mean that you have a part of your soul that was in the DAL universe and came over here. So I thought it's pretty cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about DAL star seeds. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because I think it's extremely important to know your star seed heritage. It really impacts the way you are and how you move through this world. And a lot of the ways that star seeds struggle on this planet sometimes can be very easily explained by understanding their star seed heritage and kind of knowing like, oh, I'm not a freak, I'm not weird, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just like this is stuff I have to work through because I'm not used to this planet and I'm used to something else, right? So I always like to mention my star seed traits. If you want to know what kind of star seed you are, I do offer a reading, and I really encourage you, like as we're going through this list, if you're like, oh, that sounds like me, like I could be a DAL star seed, like let's go ahead, like do a reading, get you booked, and like you can find out like, okay, what was I doing in my other past lives? Like I was in the DAL universe, I wasn't here, and it can help you really understand like not only what you're meant to do, but like why some of the stuff about you is so unique and you are the way that you are. All right, so the first thing is that a lot of DAL star seeds have a hard time integrating on Earth because it is such a dense reality for them and they can feel very out of place. So the DAL people really struggle here. So if you struggle sometimes and you're like, I just don't feel like I'm from here, I think things here are weird, it's just like so intense here, like it's too much, like I don't know, like I just don't feel like this is my home, like that's a really big sign that you could be a DAL star seed. DAL star seeds also tend to hold their emotions inside. They're not very expressive as compared to other groups, such as the Pleiadians, that are very expressive. That's why integration with the Lyran people really helped them, because it helped them develop aspects within themselves that they were kind of lacking, and vice versa within the Lyrans. And so that's why the Aldebaran Star people, which also you could be an Aldebaran Star seed too. And you could be both. You could be a DAL star seed and an Aldebaran star seed. Like maybe you had a past life as a DAL person, you like came over into this universe, but then you kept reincarnating into that, like that line as an Aldebaran star seed as well. And then for DAL star seeds, you may react differently. For example, maybe most things that make other people angry don't necessarily make you angry. So if you're like, okay, like I don't get why people are always saying this way, or like it doesn't make sense to me, like people get so angry about this, or they get so caught up about this, or like why do they get sad about this? Like it's like your emotions don't match like the majority of other people's emotions. Like that could mean that you have a soul origin, you know, as a DAL star seed. All right. So again, if you're curious if any of that sounded like you and you're like, oh my gosh, I think it could be a DAL star seed, please reach out to me. Definitely interested in doing a soul origin, life purpose reading with you. We'll go through all of your galactic history, you know, all the past lives, the things that you were up to before you decided to become you, right? The very unique person you are. But then also understand why you decided to become you. Why did you want to be a human? Why did you want to come to planet Earth? Are you here to help? Are you here to learn? What are you here to do? You know, give you some clarity so you can kind of move forward in your life with like, okay, I get it now. I don't need to worry. I know why I'm here, and you can like fulfill your purpose, right? So if you're interested in booking a reading, I'm going to put that link below in the show notes. All right, so let's get into viewing the DAL universe. So before I begin channeling, I just want to mention that I actually opened the Akashic Records of the session prior to starting this live. So the records are actually already open and we are ready to begin. All right, so let's go straight to the universe. I'm going to begin channeling. So the way I channel is I hold my channeling crystals, and then I kind of go up. I have my eyes closed. I spin my head. It allows the information to come through. I see a lot of things. So I might say like, hey, they're showing me this. I hear things. So I might say like, hey, this is what they're saying. Or I just like might feel or know things too. So I might be using that language. I don't anticipate speaking as any guide today, but I also do like a little bit of trans channel. So I'll begin like speaking as the guides as well. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go into the doll universe and see what it actually looks like. So they're taking me through. It's interesting. The portal we're going through is actually green, and it kind of looks like what the Milky Way galaxy, like the spinning. They're taking me in, and it's like they have to flatten us to get in. And then it's like we're flat, like two-dimensional, like a drawing on a piece of paper, and then we're like going down. And then we pop back into like a 3D version. And I see the doll people there. And it's interesting because they have like dinosaur looking, like Yoshi type, like dinosaur T-Rex, but more like character looking individuals there too, which I did not know that about the doll universe. I did not know they had that kind of alligator, crocodile, lizard type of genetic there, but apparently they do. But it seems very, it seems like in that universe, those creatures are a lot more benevolent than they are here. They're definitely showing me like Yoshi being multiple colored. He's kind of like a cute, fun character. And I've seen whole planets like that of those type of benevolent like beings. And so I think that's important to know, because if you know what I'm talking about, like if you know, right? Like most of the time they have a really bad rep, and most of them are not for the highest good and the highest polarity, but sometimes they are. All right. So they're showing me their technology right now. They ride on motorcycles, which is really interesting. A lot of star people do, not just the doll people. So they're like these flying motorcycles, but like they're more like jet skis because they're like round on the bottom kind of. And I see these all over our universe too. But they're kind of showing me as if they've been on a mission and they're returning home. The like these jet things, it's interesting because it's like they can almost, these jet craft things, like they can fly around and then they can kind of like come down back to like their landing pad. And it's like when they get to a certain like place in the sky, like certain proximity to the planet, I don't want to say Earth because it's not Earth, but it's like some kind of like, it's like a balloon deploys, right? Like a parachute deploys and it helps them get down. And it's kind of showing when these explorers, these doll explorers come in, they're showing me them looking like Barbie dolls, like like Barbie doll with her like blonde hair, like Ken, like very clean cut, like very basic looking, like they look Barbie doll type of people. So the explorers come down, and then it's interesting because they have helpers who help with their crafts, like if their crafts like set like clean up and like set up and stuff. So it does look like perhaps there is a working class of aliens kind of below them, but let's keep confirming that those look like kind of like ET, kind of like a cockroach that's like, I don't know, kind of icky, but you know, I don't like cockroaches, not many of us do, but that's kind of what they're showing me them as. And feels like they potentially could be some kind of crossbreed too, but I don't know, that stuff's icky. I don't know how much I want to get into it, so let's see. Let's focus on so I see like they're showing me like two doll people, like they've come back into their universe, they've gone down. So and right off the bat, it seems like they have a lot of different species in their universe, right? We've already seen two. We've seen insectoid, we've seen like Yoshi type of beings, and then humanoids there as well. So I see I see like this Barbie and Ken duo. We'll keep going with them and see kind of what's going on. What is their universe like what's going on with them. So they have a lot of issues in their universe too. They're showing me they struggle with a lot of the same like polarity type of issues that we have here on Earth, is what they're showing me. So and I think I understand why they're showing me like Barbie and Ken, because you know how like if you've seen the Barbie movie that came out, like what was it, like last year, the year before, 2 years ago, like Barbie and Ken, it's like they go from like Barbie land And it's kind of like it's almost the exact same thing where they're going through that like 2D stuff, and then they end up in Los Angeles in that park, and like everything is inverse. Whereas like in Barbie Land, the men have all the power, and then like in our world, like obviously patriarchy exists, and men have always had the power for so long, and it's like opposite, right? So it's like you go in, and it's like everything like that is opposite when you get there, and then you're like, what? Like this is so different. Like that's how we would be anyway. So that's a really good example that they're showing me. So okay, so they go in, and then what does the city look like? Okay, yeah, so the city we go in, and it looks like a nighttime city, right? So it's inverse. So like their day and their night is different. So they're showing me the night. The buildings, actually, the way they're showing them to me, they look similar at first, but I see a lot of buildings that have like points on the top. They're showing me that, and within the buildings, this is weird. Okay, this is what they're showing me. This is weird. Okay, so they have these buildings, and they're kind of like shaped like this, and they're like blue, but then they're like on the sides, but then they're like made out of glass or something, and there's water in there. So there's like water in these buildings, these giant buildings. I mean, these are like skyscrapers, and there's like sea creatures hanging around. Okay, and they're showing me elephants are in there. Elephants. Yeah, so it's like, oh, hold on. Okay. So it's weird because like it's like animals that we wouldn't see, like an elephant. We don't really, that's not like a water creature, right? Like it's like the inverse, like those animals would be in the water. Whereas like I can see like a whale like sliding around the earth, like able to like walk around on the earth. That's weird, right? So it's like the animals that are like water are actually on their earth, and then like the animals that are like more earth-like are like in water. Yeah, and so they keep these sea creatures in these big towers for like experimentation, which is pretty dark, I think. Some entertainment, like we have Shamu that's like for entertainment, some of that, but it's really more for experimentation. It's also like the frequencies of the animals help the frequencies of the people. So like if they have them in these cities, like they're transmitting frequencies that are helping the people. And now the people, they're showing me get around on these like magic carpet looking things like in Aladdin. Like that's what they're showing me, which is weird. But yeah, okay, so I have heard of this in our galaxy too. It can be like a floating platform or something. Like I do think that exists in other star systems here in this galaxy. This is trippy, right? This is so trippy. This sounds so weird. It sounds like a dream, but it is the inverse of us, right? So kind of would expect it to be really trippy. All right. So let's see. They're showing us this Barbie character. We're kind of showing around, or we're following around. She's going to these buildings with these aquatic beings in them. She's doing negotiation. Yeah. So it does feel like there is some inverse too when it does come to like that example they're showing with the Barbie movie where like women are more kind of at like the patriarchal type of like top of the ladder. They can kind of act kind of like, I know if I can say like kind of like a jerk, or like I don't know if I can say the word that I'm thinking, but just very like they want to control or be on top of it, like, and they're more like aggressive doing like business deals, things like that we would more so, at least in the past, have seen men doing in this universe. And they're also in charge of a lot of things too. Okay, it's interesting because they're showing me that these like buildings that have these like water things in them with like the animals in them, they can actually like, they're buildings, but the buildings can detach and can be flown as ships. Now that is crazy. So imagine like if someone went into a 20-foot tall, excuse me, not 20, like 20-story tall building or 30-story tall building in a city, and that could turn into a spaceship. It's like it unclicks from like the ground. Like you click in something, right? You click in something and it stays there. and then it just like unclicks and it can be like flown around. It's a transport machine, because they bring these different animals to different parts of the world, different cities, to raise the vibration, help tame the frequency too, right? So these animals are basically used for this purpose, right? And these souls that come into these animal bodies decide to do this because they want to help, but there are long-term effects on the soul of trauma from being caged in and things like that, and they don't live super long either. So that's interesting. They use animal frequency to help calibrate the vibration of the planet. It's not necessarily to raise the frequency, but it's like to vibrate and keep the planet in check. Their planets are more unstable than ours are. They're literally showing me like floating lava, and looks like it could be like explosions and things like that. So that is very weird. Yeah, they're showing me they have like active looking dragon creatures on this in their lands. So they're showing me like the dragons are out and about in the city too. They're kind of like pets. They're there all the time. So I read this book. It was like when women were dragons, and they were like, people would turn into dragons, and then they would be like, they're a person, they're a human, right? So they have like a mom and a dad, sister, brother. They have a family. So they would like kind of hang out with the humans as the like as part of the family. They're like still a family member. I'm getting that vibe, but I don't think they're turning into dragons. It's like the dragons are just like pets, or they're just like hanging out there. But it does feel like dragons can like work or be a part of the society, and there are dragon humanoids there. So that's what they're saying. It's like a humanoid with a dragon head. I don't see that in this universe. It's very interesting, and they're telling me it's because the consciousness, I was calling alligator and like like crocodile, or yeah, like the alligator, crocodile, like the consciousness developed differently, where like the dragons came into the smaller forms that were humanoid, as opposed to like the alligator or the crocodile. So they're hanging out there. Their 21 is literally like a cook in a restaurant. So that's interesting. Okay. All right. What is the day-to-day life like for the doll people? They still have jobs. They have a different currency than we do. They showed me that movie Time with Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried. It's, I don't know how many years old now, like 15 years old at least. But instead of money, they have like time on their wrists, and if you run out of time, you die, right? So it's like you have to trade time or steal time or earn time at your job. Like every day you go, you earn like, to learn, okay, like 24 hours of life today at my job, or, you know, rich people get like 5 years at their job or whatever, right? For working one day. So they have a different currency in the doll system. Okay, they're bringing up something that I think is interesting. So everyone in there is like, all of the ETs there, all the human ETs are all good looking. And so, you know, like good looks here can be kind of a currency, right? Like, it's like if you're hot, like, or you're good looking, like people give you stuff, or it makes you more successful. It's easier to be more successful. You can use that to your advantage as a currency. Everyone there is hot. So it's like no one, like it's not a big deal. Like it doesn't get you ahead in life. You don't get treated special or different because you're hot, because everyone is like supermodel hot. And that's pretty common with a lot of the higher dimensional ETs. I just wanted to note that now. There's also some ETs there with purple skin. Which is interesting. They're showing me there. They have like a big like diamond thing on their head, and kind of like elfin pointed ears. Like think like Lord of the Rings elves with like long purple hair, purple skin, glowing dragon energy. They're also there. They came, this planet that they're showing in the universe, they came from another planet, and I believe they came with the dragons. Yeah. They came with the dragons, right? So there's some level, I mean, like of immigration, I guess. I mean, not really immigration, but like there's a lot of different types of ETs here. All right, what else is the day-to-day life of the doll people? There is an elite class. There's an elite class of doll people. like I said earlier, it just seems like they have a lot of their own kind of societal stuff that we have too. Okay, so what else here? They do have smaller villages outside of the cities as well. There's larger creatures out there that kind of look like giants. They're like purple giants is what they're showing me. And there's like a lot of farming out there. What is the food like for the doll? And I'll say there's a huge influence of what we would call Asian culture. Like it looks like what you would expect in like China, Japan. Like that's what a lot of like, I mean, I keep seeing the restaurants, the buildings look like that. Like it's more similar to that. I'm not saying it's obviously it's not the exact same as like, you know, the same language, culture, things like that, but it's more similar to that than maybe like, you know, like European, African, like those types of cultures. Like it's more similar to like Asian culture is what they keep showing me over and over again. And then the food is also more monotonous. Like it doesn't seem as there's many types of food. Interesting, because with the Asian culture, so like I've been to China once and they eat like Chinese food every day, right? Or like that's pretty much it's like, and they have a bunch of different, you know, types of Chinese dishes and things like that. Like it's a very large cuisine, but like in the US where I'm at, we eat different cuisines constantly, right? So it seems like their cuisine is more like they just eat some of the same things. Now, Earth is known for being a food planet, right? Like most planets outside of Earth, like the doll planet, but like any like other like most other planets do not have as many types of food as fun with food, like food creation that's interesting. Like most of it's like it can be really bland on a lot of planets. So they're showing me that it's and like it's like almost like they have like a little rice patty that it's just like you know how like sometimes like you can make rice into like a little like you know like half circle or something like a little patty. They're showing me like that the food is rationed there. So definitely seems like a little bit more maybe like some governmental you know systemic you know type of systems in place to monitor like food production, things like that. But the doll people are okay with it. Like it doesn't seem like it's something that's enforced or like harming them. It's more so like they just understand the amount of food they need. Like obesity is not a problem there. Overeating is not a problem there. There are other issues there. It's interesting. I was talking about that book earlier because they're actually showing me that like they can kind of like change their bodies. Like they're showing me like they can like grow wings and stuff like that. And they're showing me, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Akatar. It's Akatar. Yeah, it's Akatar. Like they have all the different types of fairies, and some of the fairies that Ryson, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he's like half of that other. I can't. It's like the Illy something, but they have wings. So they're showing me that like there's some of that too, like within the Aldebaran people. Like there's some that have like wings and things like that. Crossbreeding between humans and the dragon humanoids. I would expect that because that's happened in our universe with like the alligator crocodile humanoids. I would expect that. And the doll people, you know, unfortunately, just like the people of Earth, there's some level of corruption there. It sounds like, right? Is what I'm seeing. And there's been mixing, a lot of mixing, interspecies mixing between the dragon and the humanoids. A lot of diversity there in the type of species, which is interesting. So here on planet Earth, a lot of times we can't see like the bad things, the corruptions, or the things that are decisions that are not good for the people are kind of made behind closed doors. There it's the inverse, it's more out and it's opposite, right? So you can kind of see and you can know that the corruption and things are occurring more so. And that goes along with how it's like dark in the day there, right? Like it's dark in the day. So it's like when you're out and about, like you can see the darkness, you can see the corruption, you can see it for what it is. While our universe, it's hidden because in our daytime, it's light, right? So we see things and it's like you can put that kind of like, gold colored glasses, rose colored glasses on, but they're like the corruption is much more evident. Like it's much more like rampant in certain parts. It's not hidden like it is here. It's not hidden, which that's very, very interesting, right? And it's interesting because our systems and stuff, that's why we have investigators and like laws and like, different things like that to uncover what really happened, right? But there it's just out in the open is what they're saying. So weird. Okay. They have their type of like heaven or higher dimensional. They're showing me these purple dragon looking characters. Would be like their angels type, like, we describe like an angel being like in their higher level dimensions, that help process their souls in and out of lifetimes there. It's opposite. So in our galaxy, we have the Arcturians who are very logical, that help to process souls like in and out, right? With like record keeping, like the Arcturians are the ones who manage the Akashic Records, right? Which is the records of everything that's happened in our universe. There they have an alternate type of Akashic record that it's a lot more harmonious and just like music in nature. But it's driven by logic to some extent, because it has, based on the nature of it, of what it is. But it's like more musical and more emotion driven, which it can be kind of sloppy with soul incarnation there because of that, right? Because they're not, like if you're that type of task, you want to be very like firm and like thorough with it, right? But like with this, it's, you want rules, regulations, like steps, like processes, right? But with this, it's not. Yeah, so there's a lot more like errors and things like that. And it's just messier there is what it feels like. It's related to like the crossbreeding a lot too between different species. It's just a bit messier. All right. And let's see. Look at what doll fashion is like. Let's look at what the dolls wear. Honestly, I see a lot of spacesuit looking outfit, like tight, like spacesuits, like you would see like in video game characters and stuff. They're actually showing me like Iron Man, where he has that big like thing around, around his chest. It's like a battery or some chemical or something. It's like life force type of chemical, and then he has like that big suit that kind of like he puts it on, and he's huge, and he's like able to do all this stuff. They're showing me that. Yeah, they developed some of that. They're saying that idea of how Iron Man looks like that, like came from their universe. Interesting. Okay. So what else is that what they wear? Do they wear like, more like clothes we would consider normal, like t-shirts and jeans and things like that? Not very often. Like there's clothes that maybe the lower class working people would wear, like working clothes is what they're showing me. Interesting. Also, they're showing me clothes are like neon colored and sparkly. So apparently I would love it there. And like 80s sparkly, fun, bright colors. Like, yes. Yeah. Okay. They're showing me that. They're showing me the wedding attire. The way they show me, it looks like Roman Catholic, or like this big like headdress thing. I guess I'm thinking because like some pictures of Jesus have this big gold thing around him. But like that's definitely like a headpiece too that's like gold that you see lots of people wearing. I don't know. I thought I had a picture of it, but I don't. They're showing me them wearing that and like long flowing robes. Their weddings look very spiritual. They're like out like in the forest, and they're like very beautiful. They have like animals, like I guess so animals is very different with them there. Like they have this like giant tiger. Like imagine you're standing and this tiger is like, when it's laying down on its haunches, it's the same height as you. So it's this huge tiger, and it's just sitting out in the forest, and they're getting married in the forest, and this tiger is just sitting behind them. That is so odd, but it feels like the animals are just, yeah, it's like these large animals are also allowed to roam free. Like if you've seen the Jurassic Park after like the dinosaurs got out and they're kind of like, they're in the city, right? So they're like in the city and you can be in the city and they're just like outside your window or flying by. Like that's what it's like. It's like wildlife there it does not feel like exactly the same where it's like you can only see it in zoos. It's like in the city, like people are living in tandem with it. That would make sense why they're like transporting animals and animals are in the city too. Like they don't have that separation from animals that we have is what I'm getting. All right. So go back to the wedding scene. It's interesting. The visual they're showing me is if like these two people are getting married and they're standing on the land outside. That like one of them, like the bride, it's like a bride and a groom, like a traditional heterosexual couple, and like the bride is like going down. Like she goes like she's up here, but then she like goes down into the ground, and it's like this underground like cave or cavern that she's going down into. And it's like she's like in an elevator. That's what I'm like trying to say. Like she's in an elevator. Yeah. Okay, and I think they're just showing me that to show that they also have systems underground. Like on Earth, you know, there's a lot of talk about having like underground tunnels and things like that and having civilizations underground, but there's nothing like really out in the public, so it's all considered conspiracy theory. But this is like, it's more known. It's more known. Like it's not completely like not everything that happens down there is known, but it's more known that they can go into the tunnels under Earth. It's not here where it's like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory that doesn't exist. Like, no, it's like, it's more well known, like kind of sort of is what they're saying. Yeah. So there is some stuff that happens in the tunnels that's not known about, but that's where like initiations into like, they're kind of like shadow government or those organizations that are not helpful would happen like down in the tunnels. And that's where like some darker like breeding type of stuff happens related to dragons as well. So yeah, so think like interbreeding, but then with like humans, like dark stuff. I hate talking about this stuff, so we'll keep it brief. But then like poaching and things like that, like it seems like animal specifically related to like dragons that are considered animals there would happen underneath the ground. Okay. All right. So let's ask what their music is like. So it's showing me that they kind of have headphones too, which is interesting. Like they wear the big headphones like we do. Feels like a lot of electronic music they have there. Yeah, so it's interesting because like if you've ever been to one of those like dance parties where it's like people just listen to their headphones and there's no actual music playing, they show me that's how it is too. Like most of the time you're just listening to music on your own device and you're like walking around, or like even if you're at a party, they're not playing it. It's like on your headphone, you're all kind of like dancing to your own thing. It seems like rave electronic music is really popular there, where like what they have is like similar to what we have, because it's like they had to show me like examples of what I can understand, right? Like they can't always show me the real thing, or I'd be like, I don't know how to describe that, right? They have to show me like an example. Okay. And so what else is music like? I just think they have some musical instruments there. They're showing me, it's interesting, they have mer people there too, because they're showing me this woman who's like playing a guitar. Not to say that it would be like a real guitar, but like playing a musical instrument, and like these mer people are like coming out of the water, and that's how she's like interacting with them through frequency. So that's like super, super cool. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And they're showing me the Little Mermaid. What's it called? Kiss the Girl music video or scene, I guess. Where Ariel and Prince Eric are like on that like canoe on that boat, and they're going through like all of the like, you know, like nature and like the pond, and there's like all these like, you know, sea animals like singing and stuff like that. So they're showing me that. Okay, so like music that like we would play and stuff, it's more used for like romantic, like spiritual connection types of purposes on that planet. They do have it there. They prefer the binaural beats, but they can feel it helps with their heart chakras. So it helps them open up and it helps them reconnect to who they are. And so they're also on a journey of evolution there as well. Their society's gotten stuck in a few ways. It feels like gotten stuck from ours. But okay, now, yeah. And now they're showing me what's really weird is like with Coco, you know how he goes into that, like, it's the afterlife, but it's not like your final, like you go there after you die, but like there's still somewhere else you can go, right? So it's like an interdimensional. It's not like the final resting point, right? It's like a limbo or an in-between, right? In Coco, where he goes and like if they stop remembering you on the other side is when you disappear, right? Or like on the earth side. Okay, so they're showing me this. Yeah, music. So music helps you kind of get through the different dimensions or levels of this universe, is what they're saying. So is there something with Coco where like something can happen to your soul when you're forgotten? No, it's that you can go in between. So apparently, like these two different dimensions, like we can't do that. We can't like, except for like near-death NDEs, that are pretty rare, but your body is still alive, right? You can't do that. You can like go in between there. You can come back like that, like the little boy did in that movie. I don't know if his name was Coco or why it was named that, but the little boy, yeah, you can go back and forth. And so that means death. Excuse me. Didn't mean to say that, but when you pass away, not as big a deal there. It's just not, it's a lot softer because you're still able to go back and forth in between. It's weird because so like when someone passes, on Earth, they can't really come back immediately into another body. And you can only do that through a birthing portal, coming back as a baby. You can't just, come back as I'm going to be a 32-year-old adult, and kind of pick up where I left off or, something like that. But there's more of that ability in that universe to be able to go in between. And so that's why when someone passes away, like the grief and stuff is not a big deal for them. It's a huge deal in our universe, right? Especially on planet Earth and third dimension, higher dimensional planets. It's not as bad, but here that's like a huge thing. A lot of people struggle with. It's a big part of our experience, right? Is that sometimes the people we love like do pass on and they're not here anymore. But there, that's just not as much of a thing. So it's not a struggle that people are going to deal with as much in that universe because it's easy for an incarnation to go in between the different levels is what they're showing me. So what is an incarnation? So you have your soul, right? And then each time your soul goes into a human or a like an alien ET body, that's considered an incarnation, right? Because you're getting a new identity, you're a new person, a new alien, right? So we can't really, like in our bodies, we can't travel to other dimensions, but our soul can, and when we're in our astral body, we can. But this one, it's like a little bit easier to go in between dimensions. They can kind of in a physical body go like 2 dimensions up. Their body is not as dense as ours. It's more like watery is what they're saying. And that's why they can do it, which is weird. All this stuff is so strange, right? All right. So let's see here. Let's ask a couple more questions. Do they have, like, what is their entertainment like? Do they have theme parks? They have sports there for sure. They have their own sports. They're really involved with the animals. They're giving like an example of like bird watching. So they have a lot of big like events where you can go and it's like animal races or things like that. Like they're a lot more in touch with animals than we are here. I feel like we have really kind of gotten away from being in connection with them. They're a lot more in connection with animals in that universe. And it's almost like the animals provide a lot of entertainment for them as well, right? So like you know, think like, it doesn't look like a circus or anything like that, but like in a big event where you can go and like see animals and things like that, it almost feels like some kind of production with animals, or something like that. What about theme parks? They don't have theme parks. No, like theme parks there would be like, what they're showing me is like, the only theme parks they have would be like, you know, like parking lot, like fairs that like they travel and they set up, like that's what they're showing me. Like that's the only example they've had, like really kind of like, they don't have like a Disney World there, Disneyland, Universal Studios, like they don't have that kind of stuff. So kind of sucks for them, but no. Okay. All right. So I just want to tap and see here. Are there any movies, books, or TV shows that are similar to the DAL people? They're actually showing me like Star Wars. They're saying Star Wars is similar. Yeah, like some of the planets and people that are like higher dimensional. They show me there's some examples there. They're also showing me Star Trek, which I kind of had felt like Star Trek was more similar than Star Wars. But they're showing me like Star Trek, like when they go and explore different parts of the universe. That's more like Star Trek, because like Star Trek, they kind of, that's what they would do, right? Like they would go and they would explore, and like they're part of like some league or something like that, or like the military or like Starfleet Academy, like whatever it is, and they would go and explore. They're showing me it's more like that. Anything specific? They show me they're more similar to like the Pleiadians here, which that's not a book or a TV show, but they're showing me more similar to the Pleiadians. And they're kind of, the second time I've seen them, kind of looking like elfin looking. So I think there are some of them that look like elves, right? Like they have a lot of connection to that like fantasy fairy kind of lore too. So interesting. What about characters? Are there any characters? Yeah, so they're showing me like the elves in Lord of the Rings, like they're tall with the pointed ears. Like those are the, would be like the characters that kind of look the most like them, right? Because all the elves there, they're like tall and like, you know, kind of while we say like a supermodel. I mean, not all the people that played the elves were super attractive, but a lot of them were. But they're kind of saying like that's who kind of like looks like them based like them the most. If we were to say like who looks like a doll person, right? Is like the elves. So okay. So, any other information that wants to come through today about the doll universe? It's interesting. They're kind of showing that they can still come into the portal through, so they can come, more of them can come into our universe. Like they know that some of their doll people came over, right? And like I said, like now those people, like those bodies aren't, you know, those people are not here anymore, but their descendants are. So they're trying to decide if they want to come through more, but they don't know yet. But there's the opportunity for them to come through more. Feels like they're dragon genetics too, like some of the dragonoid people would consider coming through as well, to kind of help with the situation with like the alligator and crocodile people. So I don't know. It sounds like there's still opportunity for them to come through if they want to, but they're a little uncertain. It feels like there's like rebels or rogues, or like people can kind of go rogue and like, I'm going to go through the portal and into, you know, the other universe. Like it feels like there's some of that, like a little bit. So yeah. Yeah. But it actually, and it feels like because of that, it's interesting. Like, feels like the DAL, like the government, like put up some kind of force field so that rebels can't go through anymore. They're showing me the rebels, and then they're showing me like, oh, they actually put this up so they can't come through. Like they put up a force field. Interesting. But the rebels don't like that, so they keep trying to test it and like go through it. Okay. Okay. So let's see. But for now, it feels like they're not coming immediately, but possibly. They're watching our situation and trying to figure out if they're going to come through again. Because they feel like we could help each other. But yeah, we could help each other with their problems and stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. Maybe. All right. So I'm just going to say thank you so much to the Akashic Records and all the guides and ETs that talked to me today. I found that really interesting. I found part of it's really weird. Yeah, let me know what you thought. Drop some comments in the bottom. And yeah, if any of that like familiar, if you'd had dreams where you've seen stuff like that, it could be dreams from the doll universe. So like I said, if you feel like this resonates with you, or you just feel like you could be an ET, an alien in another life, you don't feel like your like Earth doesn't feel familiar to you, you know, just come and like book a reading with me and let's see. Are you a starseed? I think it's very comforting to know sometimes, but it's also fun. It's also fun to know you're an alien in a past life too. And I think it helps really like people get a lot of clarity and feel peace. So I would love to have you want to do a reading with me. Again, that link's in the show notes. And that's all for today. So yeah, hope you learned something. I learned a lot, and I will see you next time. Bye.